Hey everyone, this is Doug MPA. Welcome to number two of the Policy Plus Energy Show. I have I know me Naomi with me, my co-host, and we're going to start with introductions. If you don't know me, I'm Doug MPA,
And I'm Naomi. I
and
know me. Sorry.
oh, go ahead. So you know, I'm I live in the DC area, 42 years old. I'm Doug MPA because I have two policy degrees, so I'm the guy about stats and data and all that stuff like that. I've been consuming manosphere content since about 2017. I consider myself very red pill, and I'm one of those. I'm in my 40s, single, no kids, and so that's where I stand on all this. And go ahead, Naomi.
So I'm Naomi Alexander. I'm from London. I'm 35. I'm a single mother of two. I'm very much not the red pill um, space, but I've definitely learned a lot from being able to see perspectives of the red pill space from a energy perspective of compassion and understanding.
Hey, awesome. Uh, so um this show we're talking about the crisis of young men in the West. We're only going to hit on a few issues because that's a large topic. And so I like to start the show with a little bit of a monologue and some stats, and then I like to bounce off Naomi and see what she thinks about it. I have a couple of videos we're going to watch, and then I really like bouncing the hard stats and the hard questions off of Naomi because she has such a great perspective on things. She's been in the military, so she's very grounded, but she's also has a lot of energy and kind of chakras to her and stuff. So I told you you remind me of someone. I'm from Washington State. You remind me of a girl from Seattle, but you've never been to Seattle before.
Never, never been to see it.
Uh, okay, so I'm gonna start with it can be argued that since the civil rights movement and the onset of second wave feminism, and just so you know, second wave feminism started in the 1960s and third wave feminism started in the 1990s. Says female empowerment has become the focus of American society with public and private organizations creating policy and procedures to empower women. In the media, it's been all you see in TV, news, and radio, especially in the 90s and well, in the onset of third wave feminism. Today, these policies, procedures, and media have created the current generation of girl boss, I don't need a man, women that are trying to get the bag, focus on their careers, and wait longer and longer to get married and have kids. While this sounds good, this begs the question, what about young men? Are they being left behind? In a recent article on CapX, a British public website, author Frank Young writes, British boys are falling behind and too many dads are not around to help them. The fact that boys are falling behind is well documented but frustratingly overlooked. Could the solution be for boys to start school later than girls? We're going to talk about that later because that's total BS.
Yeah.
Also, encouraging marriage must be part of the solution to our epidemic of absent fathers. The article goes on to state that 1 million children in UK primary school with no there are 1 million children in UK primary school with no male teacher at all, and 2.7 million children are growing up in fatherless homes. So this first part is going to be about the younger kids, but I kept it with the UK because it'll, I think a lot of people, especially on my end, know a lot of the US stats, but I thought it would be really cool to come up with the UK stats. So stats wise, in the UK, and this will show you how far boys are behind. 88% of girls graduated high school in 2018, while 82% of boys graduated high school. In 2022, 40% of girls at the age of 18 went on to college, and only 29% of men made the same decision, right? There are
Mm.
extreme cases like Iceland, where 77% of college undergrads are women, right? And then
Hmm.
places like Scotland have already started writing legislature to address the disparity between men and women attending college with active outreach towards young men to increase male participation in universities. Right?
Mm.
What do you think about that? Did you have any idea that those stats existed?
Um, no, I didn't know that the stats existed, but at the same time, Are these is the difference for in the sense that a lot of the jobs that say like builders and stuff like that, they don't go to college. I mean, they don't, yeah, they won't go on to further education because they'll do hands-on jobs. So they'll get paid to
Trade
learn on
schools?
the job. Exactly. So
Yeah,
it won't
so
be the same. And we have apprenticeships and stuff. So maybe the difference in from boys to girls is that space, and also going into the military, because obviously a higher percentage of men will go into the military rather than females. So is that where the the gap is?
that could be part of it. A lot of these studies only account university rates because here's the thing, and I want you to think about this all throughout the literature I'm going through. Men still make more than women,
Yeah,
and they're always going to.
because we don't
They're
work as much.
we don't work. Women don't work as much, and they don't like. A woman will get a degree in social work, and she's not going to go in the sewers and unclog the sewer drains. They're just not going to happen. It's not.
No. Mm-mm. And
So
also a lot of the time
go
women will
ahead.
get degrees and then they won't use them. They'll decide then to do like to stay at home with the children and all of these things. So they'll have degrees, and so yes, they may have a higher education, but then their husband will be a builder, or you know.
Yeah, I want to see because here's the thing. I get a lot of these, and when you start doing your show, which is coming soon, ladies and gentlemen, I know
Mhm.
Naomi is coming out with her own podcast. She's just getting her stuff together. And if you're part of my channel, please subscribe to her channel because we are going to support her show the entire way. Psychology Today, the American Psychological Association have turned into kind of man bashing
Mm.
periodicals, and they don't. You're never going to see studies about trade schools or the real reasons why men make more. So that's why they always focus on. Oh yeah, women are getting more education. Yeah, but what is that in? Only 9.5% of women get degrees in STEM in the United States. 9.5%, but 60% of college campuses, the undergrads are women. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
And because I guess that a lot may do arts as well, which may not be on the higher scale of like going to do, say, a drama degree or a film degree, or, or some kind of arts where they may not be on the higher end of the scale in terms of pay. Say, if you went and did a law degree. Um, and so maybe that's why women are at college and universities for longer, but lower end of the pay scale.
Yeah, and then also, there's stats like 52% of women in STEM quit the industry. No, go to part time, or they move industries entirely out of STEM when a child is born. 52%.
Yeah.
You have
'Cause you-
to 28% of female physicians um, report infertility. So like a lot of women, when they want to have children, they have to stop being doctors to be able to have children.
because of the stress.
Yes, 100%. Yep.
It goes against biologically, it goes against your body and what your body needs in order to be in a space of people like women seem to have the I don't okay, so I'm not going to generalize, I'm just going to speak from my own perspective because
I'll
I'm sure
generalize all day.
there'll be
I'll
many, well, there'll
I'll
be
do it
many
for both of
women,
us.
there'll be there'll be many women that are out there that are in their masculine energy that won't agree with me. um but it goes against how our bodies are made up. And this is why PCO and all of these illnesses in the body are created in women, because we're residing in the wrong energy. So our bodies are literally telling us through disease that we are doing the wrong things. When you come back to self and slow down as a woman, your body then gets in tune with your being, and so that's where you can then create, because creation comes from stillness, and that
Mhm.
includes the creation of life. And so when we're in these high paced jobs, your body can't do what it needs to do to create life because you're too busy stressed about what Bob said in the office about getting the meeting a deadline. I think your body doesn't have the space to
So
create.
so I guess I wanna because one of the things, when I start making original concepts, I'm a channelist. You only have 100% of time and effort at one given time, kind of like a pie chart in math class. And so
Never
you
did
really have to. What's that?
that. Math was never my thing.
Ah, so you really have to be cognizant of how much, what percentage of that pie is going towards what. And I think that what you're saying is if you have too much percentage of your time and effort going towards something like a job that's stressing you out, you won't have enough percentage left. You know, like let's say your career is taking up 70% of your life as a woman. That 30% left of that 100 is enough to help you bring forth life. Am I correct in saying something like that?
Yeah, 100%. We are, as much as people like to think that we've got endless amounts of energy, we have endless amounts of energy for the things that we want to do. So, well, our bodies want to do. So, like, if you're when you do a job that's purposeful and led with purpose, you have endless amounts of energy to do it. It just, like, the energy just creates itself. But when you're going to an job that you hate, your body then starts to slow down. So you then seem to have less energy. Well, I know I, as a woman, when I've worked in any job that is um in an office or yeah, I'm just not I'm very much a creative rather than working in an office or any kind of job where I'm being told what to do every 5 seconds. um and yeah, your body just does the opposite. And yeah, this is why PCO, like, I would be interested to see the statistics in the growth of polycystic ovaries and all of these different
Oh,
things.
what about black women with fibroids?
Yeah. A lot of it though also is from the pill. Contraception is like the devil for women's bodies. I don't care what anyone says. It's what created, I had two ectopic pregnancies from being on contraception. The moment I came off it, my body started to work for me, not against me. And I didn't, like, when you are so in tune with your body, but you can't be in tune with your body if you're so external as a woman. When you're constantly outputting energy, you then can't go inward and listen to your body. Your body is talking to you on every single cell. It's talking to you. When you get sick, it's telling you something. And that's why they call it dis-ease. Disease in the body is disease in your mind, in your spirit. And yeah, so think that when, as young women, we should be taught to slow down, not try and speed up.
Are you teaching me stuff already? What's this about? No, don't teach me anything over here. Ah, okay, yeah, that's some really good stuff because yeah, I really appreciate that because I just think that your body tells you stuff, but we've trained men and women, especially black men. Like we're the only group in the United States where our life expectancy hasn't hit 70 yet.
What?
Like, yeah, uh-huh, because we have naturally high blood pressure, you know, we have a lot of stress and all this stuff, yeah, and so
Mhm.
and I think part of feminism is teaching women to get the bag instead of focusing on their health and their bodies and, like, reproducing and having children, so, that's
Mm.
what you're seeing right now.
Yeah,
Uh,
I couldn't imagine not, like, I was actually just before we came on this live. So like my youngest is now 10 and I am single. And I'm like, I can't lie. I kind of feel like I either need a dog or a cat. But I don't want either of them. I'm like, because my
If you're a single
natural
woman, Naomi, don't have a dog. A
my
dog is a
natural
barrier to a man.
no, I want a husband. I don't want a dog. But my natural instinct is to nurture, but because I've had children, I've net like it wasn't, I just thought, oh, it's because I have to. Because I had my daughter so young. It was like I thought that my that nurturing and all of that side of me was because I had no choice but to do that. But no, like, it's like I kind of, as soon as my son's back, I'm like super in routine and all it, like, I know what I'm doing. As soon as my son's gone, I'm like, what am I doing? What do I do? Yeah.
Yeah, idle hands, right? Idle,
Yeah.
yeah, idle nurturing. So before we get into the first video, I just want to welcome everyone into the chat.
I can get a snake and use it to seduce my husband. Sorry, that comment made me.
Hey guys, Naomi's single. No. But so Max Power, good to see you. Carlos X, thanks for being over here, buddy. I really appreciate it. You know, Jay, you know, what the funk. Good to see you in here as always. Thank you so much for supporting the stream and the channel. Make sure to follow Naomi's YouTube channel, and you know she has a Cash App down there too because she wants to get a really nice setup in her house. So please support her if you can. And we're going to get to the first video here because this video from the think tank kind of sums up what I was saying about the situation in Britain with the young men over there. So let me get to this real quick. Okay, share. All right. We're going to watch the first 8 minutes, but I'm going to stop it and see what you think at certain points, okay?
A number of people warned me against writing a book about boys and men because it's such a fraught subject, particularly in politics right now, and because so many people were afraid that merely drawing attention to the problems of boys and men was implying somehow less effort being paid to girls and women, that it's framed as zero sum. And
that is 100% true. That is 100% true. You can't talk about male empowerment without people saying, but what about women? What about women? What about women?
Yeah.
Sort of a whose side are you on question, and you have to be on one side or the other rather than just being on the side of human flourishing. One of the real challenges here is that if there are men missing from certain crucial areas of our society and our economy, that makes it harder for other men and boys to flourish in those areas. We have an education system that has a dearth of male teachers. We have a labor market where the jobs that are growing fastest are ones where we have the fewest men.
And I'm going to say, one, there's no reason to be a male teacher because one, I always say this, I've said this multiple times. Imagine you're in the club, music's pumping, right? And you walk up to a girl, you buy her a drink, and she asks you what you do for a living, and you say, I'm a teacher. She gonna walk away from you. She's gonna walk
Why?
away from you
I wouldn't walk away.
because they know that you don't make a lot of money. You're not gonna make a lot of money, and it's not a masculine profession.
My son's got a male teacher.
Yeah, and have them you know, cherish that because
But
in
he
the
did have
UK
nail varnish on.
only 24% of teachers in the UK are men. So, all right, let me keep going.
And in family,
And then one other thing. So a lot of the current degrees that most women get, psychology degrees, all this stuff, they were called MRS degrees back in the day, where women would go for a psychology degree or a sociology degree to get to college to find a man. Now, so many women are going to get these degrees that businesses have had to create entire industries around these BS degrees. Anyway,
What,
I'll stop.
psychology? Psychology's BS.
If you stop at a bachelor's degree, it's BS. If you get a master's degree and a PhD, but we all know for a fact, if you get a bachelor's degree in psychology, you ain't making no money at all. It's a fact.
But a lot of the time, I think women go into, well, for me, if I had the ability to, or the desire to have a degree, which I don't, it would be a psychology degree. But not because I just love to understand people and the way that we work and the way our minds work and the way that we interact as humans and yeah, just breaking down people. I just love to break people down in like and see how we interact as people, and that's based on psychology, because communication now for women is such a big thing.
Yeah, but making money is a big thing for men though when it comes to dating. Let's just keep going, or I'm gonna get sidetracked.
Please, there's the growth in what you might call the dad deficit or fatherlessness. As men are struggling in each of those areas, what you'll see is it'll be harder for other men to follow in their footsteps. It's harder for boys to flourish if their fathers aren't engaged. It's harder for men to enter occupations where there aren't men. It's harder for boys to do well at school where there are no male teachers to be seen. And so there's a very real danger that unless we act quite soon, that we will set in train something of a vicious cycle. I'm Richard Reeves. I'm a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution, and my latest book is Of Boys and Men, Why the Modern Male is Struggling, Why That Matters, and What to Do About it.
So we're just going to watch up to, because I think at 8 minutes is when he gets over all the three biggest challenges. So let's just keep going.
The overall picture is that on almost every measure, at almost every age, and in almost every advanced economy in the world, the girls are leaving the boys way behind, and the women
But guys still make more money than women, bruh.
leaving the men. What nobody expected was that girls and women wouldn't just catch up to boys and men in education, but would blow right past them and keep going. Everyone was very focused, quite rightly, on getting to gender equality, getting to gender parity. It's not that long ago where there was a huge gender gap the other way, and there was huge focus, correctly, in the 70s and 80s to really promote women and girls in education. But the line just kept going, and nobody predicted that. Nobody was saying, what if gender inequality reemerges in just as big a way as now, in some cases bigger, but the other way around? And to some extent, everyone's still trying to get their head around this new world where, at least in education, when you talk about gender inequality, you're pretty much always talking about the ways in which girls and women are ahead of boys and men. And that's happened in a very, very short period of human history. So if you look at the US, for example, in the average school district in the US, girls are almost a grade level ahead of boys in English and have caught up in math. If we look at those with the highest GPA scores, the top 10%, 2/3 of those are girls. If we look at those at the bottom, 2/3 of those are boys. When it comes to going to college, there's a 10 percentage gap in college enrollment, a similar sized gap in completing college, conditional on enrolling. And the result of those trends is that the gender gap in getting a college degree is now wider than it was in 1972.
See, so we have all these gaps benefiting women, but we always talk about that pay gap that's been debunked 1,000 times. I've done like 5 videos on these people that keep talking about the gender pay gap. It's like in Captain America: Winter Soldier when that Hydra agent was like, if you cut off one head of Hydra, 2 will appear in its place. That's the gender wage gap. Can we stop talking about that and talking about these types of gaps? Jeez, ugh.
But the other way around. So in 1972, when Title IX was passed to promote more gender equality in education, there was a 13 percentage point gap in favor of men getting college degrees. Now there's a 15 percentage point gap in favor of women getting college degrees. So the gender inequality we see in college today is wider than it was 50 years ago. It's just the other way around. There's quite a fierce debate.
Did you know that, Naomi?
I didn't. No.
Isn't that crazy to think about?
I think it's because boys are not made to not made, but school's not set up for boys to succeed.
Yeah, we can get. That's part of the questions I'm gonna ask you after this.
Debate about the differences between male and female brains, and in adulthood, I think there's not much evidence that the brains are that different in ways that we should worry about or that are particularly consequential. But where there's no real debate is in the timing of brain development. It is quite clear that girls' brains develop more quickly than boys' brains do, and that the biggest difference seems to occur in adolescence. So what happens is in adolescence, we develop what neuroscientists call the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex of our brain is sometimes known as the CEO of the brain. It's the bit of your brain that says you should do your chemistry homework rather than going out to party. It's the bit of your brain that says it is worth maintaining a high GPA because it will help you get to college, which might help you in the future. And that bit of the brain develops considerably earlier in girls than in boys, between 1 and 2 years earlier, partly because girls go into puberty a bit earlier than boys, and that seems to trigger some of this development. What that means is that if you have an education system that rewards the ability to turn in homework, stay on task, worry about your GPA, prepare for college and so on, then just structurally, that's going to put at an advantage the group whose brains have developed earlier in those particular areas. And that turns out on average to be girls. I think it's a great irony of women's progress that by taking the brakes off women's educational opportunities and aspirations, we've revealed the fact that the education system is slightly structured against boys and men.
See, and I'm gonna drop the link for people to join the chat right around the hour because I like Naomi and I had to go back and forth for about an hour. But um, I'm from Western Washington State, one of the most liberal areas in the United States, and I always knew that um, you know even when I was young that our education system was tipped towards girls.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why uh, I think it's 85% of ADD cases that get prescribed medicine are boys, and 60% of those are young black boys in the
But
United States.
you know,
60%.
a lot of ADD and ADHD in women goes undiagnosed. I was undiagnosed. My daughter was undiagnosed because we have very different symptoms. And so I struggled in school because my brain doesn't, I'm not made to sit in a classroom for prolonged hours of the day. And so I think those stats, if the symptoms in women were recognized a lot sooner, probably would be a bit different.
Okay, keep that in mind because I'm going to ask you, what changes you think could be made to the education system, and make sure to bring that up. Like, if maybe ADD can be diagnosed and seen not just as a male issue, because it's ADD is always framed as a male issue
You
and not a female
100%.
issue.
Yeah.
Right?
And a lot of women, that's why a lot of women end up with, especially in puberty, like around their GCSEs, with a lot of like high levels of depression, cutting themselves, suicide, all these things, because they think they're just going through puberty, but it's
They have
ADHD, ADD.
ADHD. What?
Depression
Wow.
depression is highly linked. Lateness, losing things in women. That's what ADD. Like like I always thought that ADD and ADHD was just being naughty. Like the kids that were naughty and couldn't sit still and was like super hyper. But like my daughter, she's an introvert, and hers was like bus passes. She went through 17 bus passes in like 1 year. Like this girl could not be like on time for anything, but because she's ridiculously smart, she would pass all her exams. It was just overlooked. It was never diagnosed when she was at school. And so imagine if she had had the extra time and all of the other things that the kids with that had been diagnosed with ADHD had been given, what her exam results would have been.
Or you're not even that. Not even the extra time. How about the benefit of the doubt? How about not being labeled as defective? How about that? Because that's
Yeah.
one of the biggest problems with boys nowadays. Women, female teachers automatically label boys as defective, and they have to fight that label the rest of their lives.
And I like when anyone says anything, I'm like, people with what they label, I won't allow anybody to put a label on my child, full stop. My son or my daughter. So I use the term ADD, but we just have different brains. We would be the ones that would be finding new land. That's what I tell my children all the time. We're just not the ones sat around the campfire building. So we were out there finding a new piece of land somewhere. And we're just wired differently. Like I didn't realize that there's actually humans out there that don't have extra thoughts in their mind.
Yeah, well,
I'm
here's the
like,
thing about it,
this is
Naomi.
nothing.
That's why you got to realize, especially us guys, when you ask us what's going on and we say nothing, we literally mean nothing. It
That's
doesn't
why
mean
it's
it
wild to
doesn't
me.
mean probe and ask me stupid questions that I don't want to answer. When we say how are you feeling and we say nothing, it means nothing a lot of the time. I have nothing on
Yeah.
my mind. I'm not really feeling anything right now.
For me. Even my daughter, we were like, look, I can't. And I sometimes think, I wonder why this is why some people get lonely, because they're not having full-on conversations in their own head. Like I've got so much going on in my mind, I have no time to be lonely, like, or bored. Like I've got so many ideas, so many concepts, just so much going on. And I'm like, imagine just there being nothing. Like nothing. My brain can't even comprehend nothing.
Mm. Okay,
It's wild.
we have like 3 more minutes. Let's get through.
Because of these differences in the timing of brain development. But it took the women's movement to show that. because the natural advantages of women in education were impossible to see when women's aspirations were being capped by a sexist society. Now that those caps have been largely removed, we can see that it's boys and men who are at a disadvantage in the education system. At the risk of sounding boring, let's collect the data first so we know what we're dealing with here. I do think that we should be strongly encouraging boys to start school a year later than girls. I think that should become the default in many school districts.
That's BS, but we're going to talk about that later.
Because of the developmental gap that there is between boys and girls. Because boys' brains mature more slowly, then them starting school a year later would mean that they would.
And also, Russia and China, they don't have this problem. It's only in the West.
Developmentally closer to being peers with the girls in the classroom. We need a lot more male teachers. It's striking that the teaching profession has become steadily more female over time. Only 24% of K-12 teachers now are male. That's down from 33% in the 80s. And fewer men are applying to teacher training year on year. And so we've seen this steady shift towards a close to an all-female environment. That has all kinds of consequences for the ethos of the school, for the way we deal with different kinds of behavior among boys and girls, for example. And so we need a very serious and intentional effort to get more men into teaching. The third thing I would do in this world where I have significant power to dictate policies would be significantly more investment in vocational education and training. That is an area where we do seem to see better results for boys and men on average, and one that's woefully underinvested in the US. The US has really bet most of its dollars on a very academic, a very narrow route towards success, and less emphasis on vocational training. And that has actually put boys and men at a disadvantage. So apprenticeships, technical high schools are actually a really good way to help more boys and men. I think one
of the biggest problems with that is that, because I think one of the ultimate things, like, various channels like Pearl Channel and stuff say that feminism is they want all the good stuff and none of the bad stuff. So if we invest in vocational training, we're going to have a society where women make all the decisions and men do all the grunt work. You can't be in the C-suite because you're a white male or you're a black male, but you sure can't fix those sewers for me.
It's true.
So let me wait, is that for, because Funk said he looked up the percentage of black male teachers and
1.3%.
only
Is that America
1.3%.
Is that
Is that
America or in
Jay?
the UK?
Is that in the UK or is that United States? Let me ask you. That UK or
Is gay or
United?
just coaching sports? That's true, because a lot of the teachers that you do see are the PE teachers.
So let me get that's 100% true. Man.
And why are always the PE teachers fat?
You know what?
Like,
I don't know.
every PE teacher.
That's a good question.
I'm
Good
like,
question.
why is the PE teacher fat? Ethan's football. Well, okay, so he's got the reason I left my son at that school. He's got this. He had the after school club, and there was a black guy that ran the after school club. And so he's a tall black guy. He's from South London, and he's just a good guy. And so I every other school that I went to, I didn't see any black men. So I didn't want to move him schools.
Okay, good. So first question. What do you think is causing young men to fall behind in school? We kind of touched on it, but give us the full breadth of your opinion on why young men are falling behind in school.
One, I think that it's mainly because, as they said in the video as well, that it's not set out for boys. Boys are not designed to just sit still. And education system has not changed. Like, we've evolved, but the education system hasn't. And so also a lot of the jobs that would have been pushed in the school system, how the school system is set up now, are no longer really around, like factories and all of these things that, like,
Manufacturing.
yeah, like you're gonna have robots doing 90% of these things. So I think that and actually my son's school the other day, we went on a school trip and we went to a place where they taught us how to do trading, right? Which I thought was an absolutely amazing idea. Whereas back in when I was at school, we would have gone to a factory to see how chocolate coins were made. Now
Yeah, I
we
remember
went
those field
to
trips.
now we went to a big corporate building in the city and learned how to trade chocolate coins. My son loved it. My son likes, like, he wants to do coding and stuff like that. So for my son, who I know isn't going to be somebody who wants to work on the bins or down the drains, because he doesn't even like getting his trainers dirty. So I know that he's not that kid. But having like his school is really good at having different, bringing different elements into to find out what your child's good at, or what might spark a,
They
oh,
have
I'm
like
enjoying
assessment
this.
tests or something.
No, I don't believe in tests either, because not everybody is great on one day of the year. So like, is that what you mean by assessment tests, or you mean just
Yeah, yeah,
assessments?
because we had these tests to figure out if you were gifted, which I crushed those tests when I was younger.
But not everybody is gifted in tests. So you could still be a gifted child. You just gifted in different areas. I don't believe in this. Like, I've read, there's this psychologist that I absolutely love her. I'm terrible with names, so I can't remember her name. But she's written a book called The Conscious Parent, and she's like, the reason we have a load of children that have high levels of anxiety and they're scared of failure is because we put so much emphasis on them passing this one test. But they might have been absolutely amazing all year round and learned so much and grown in so many areas, but then they failed a test at the end of the year that they made just that one day that they were not having a great day. And
Yeah,
so for me, I never put emphasis. Obviously, I want my son to do his best, and I think that my son is an amazing, intelligent, and I tell him we have our affirmations. I'm definitely pouring into him and into his self-belief in whatever he wants to do. It's not about a test that society thinks that he should have to pass.
well, a lot
Um,
of a lot of public schools in the United States now, they have like this test that's like a summation of your high school learning. So like your whole 4 years, you're studying to pass this one test at the end of high school, and it's total BS. It's
why?
BS. Yeah.
Mad.
Let
It's
me
absolutely, like,
l- l-
it's just, it's, yeah. And
l-
so I think that that's why young men are behind, because one, they're not designed to just be sat around all day. My son's like, she's wasting my life, mum. That's what he says about his
what a
teacher.
smart kid. Okay. Uh I guess that can translate to my next question. Why a few young boys graduating from high school? Because you kind of hit on that in your answer there. Why are fewer young boys graduating from college? I think we kind of touched on that. That I don't think they count technical schools. A lot of
Mm.
these studies go for universities, and I mean, with the trades still being about 90% men, it's still the majority of men graduating to technical schools. But you have anything that you want to touch on with that question? Why are fewer young boys graduating from college?
Well, I think I just agree with what you just said, that I think a lot of the trades and the industries are just not like in that statistic. They're missing, like, the gap may be that that's where the rest of the men are. Instead of going to university to get a law degree, they're, the ones that are getting the, I don't know, they become a carpenter, or I don't know, whatever trade it is that they would maybe be an apprentice for, or a different area.
Guys, put in the chat because uh I need more information if you guys have it. In my area, the DC area, there are so few plumbers that just for a plumber to come out to your house is $300.
What? My
Just
uncle's a
for a
plumber.
plumber to come out to your house, it is $300.
I might move to York where you are and become a plumber. Shit. $300 to
uh,
come and fix me.
you,
I wouldn't fix it, I'm sorry. That's
you,
bad.
you can chakra those pipe fittings closed,
I
right?
know. I'd be like, let me align your chakras and sort your toilet out at the same
Yeah,
time.
exactly, right? Shoot.
No, there's
Okay.
no way I could even. But they say that somebody's toilet is cleaner than, a baby high chair.
Hmm.
Majority of people's toilets are cleaner than a baby's high chair.
No, you know the thing. Have you seen those stupid people are making like food and stuff um in their kitchen sink, those food TikToks where they're making like macaroni in the kitchen sink. You know that your toilet is
But
cleaner than your kitchen sink.
in
Could you
in the in
imagine?
people
Huh?
making macaroni. Well, I don't
You haven't?
understand. Is that
Oh yeah. After this, I'll send you some of them. It's disgusting, dude. It's
they're
disgusting.
making? How do they cook it? How does the kitchen sink get hot?
I'll send you some after this.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm like,
so what what impact could this have? With men graduating less university, falling behind in high school. What impact could this have on the economy of the UK, of the United States, or country in the West in general?
see, isn't the economy majority held up by all most of the jobs that women don't want to do? So it's 90%. You were
100%.
saying, so you were saying it's 90% male dominated. So if those are the
Infrastructure
gap,
positions are 90% male dominated.
so if they're like, if that's the gap in the percentage, then I don't think it will have that much of a difference. Men not graduating, because men will still have the drive to be providers. So it's like, yes, I do feel that like the drive of like boys wanting to be on in the metaverse rather than the real world has dr- dropped men's drive to do more. But I think that when there's a shift in maybe jobs being more like tech based, because a lot of the jobs I feel that are going to just be taken over by robots. So then shouldn't we be pushing children to learn trades that are
Coding,
going
as they're trying to push to everyone now.
my son, that's what my son came to me and was like, I want to start doing that he doesn't want and I didn't put this in his head. He came into my room and was like, Mum, I don't want Christmas and birthday presents. I just want to invest all of my money from my birthday and my Christmas presents, and I want to do coding. That was his, like, so I think that, and a lot, my friend who, even if it's a gamer, like, I don't see a problem with boys gaming or what, but you can make a living out of it, especially with things being like, you could live stream. There's so many elements that you can do with it, that why don't you make it into something?
Yeah, I think because what the funk says, men don't have the drive to provide like before, and that's true. I because you said that your son really wants to focus on what he wants to do, and that's a new thing, because I know that I say this on my channel too. Feminism freed up women to have to be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, but then it also freed men up for our traditional duties too. If
Mhm.
it used to be that only rich, quote unquote, they used to call them playboys back in the day, could
Mhm.
be bachelors. But now,
Mhm.
pretty much, if you make over $65,000 a year and you didn't make the mistake of getting some girl pregnant and be on child support, you could live a good single life. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, and what the funk says, men don't have the drive to provide like before. We aren't duty bound to society anymore. That's the
Yeah.
scariest thing that women aren't understanding by not wanting to be mothers and having families. Society was built on off of men's backs, our blood, our sweat, our tears, to provide for others, and our families. I always say, when men win, everyone wins. When women win for themselves. And now
Mm.
you have men winning for ourselves. That's the scary. That's how it's going to affect the economy the most. I don't know what that looks like, but that's going to be the biggest change. And that's what I think that women aren't ready for, because once again, women are so quick to tell men how we should, like, how we should be men, how we should be fathers, and they always frame it in the stuff that it, feminism freed them from, but they want to hold us to that standard and try to tell us that's how a real man is. That's what's going to be the biggest impact on our
What always
economy, as far as
interests
I'm concerned.
me It always interests me how women can tell a man how to be a man when we're not men. And they're always telling men. It's not like we're telling other women how we should receive a man. We're telling men how to be men, but from a female perspective, which I even had to like really see, especially when it came to co-parenting with my son's father. In I would try and make him parent like a woman from a nurturing standpoint, and he's a man. So not saying that men shouldn't have that the polarities, because we all possess the masculine and the feminine. It's just we need to know when to step into each and when it's needed. um and but what I was trying to do, and a lot of women do try to do, is force their partners or their co-parents to parent or be more like us. And then it's like you're then removing what it is to be a man, but then saying, oh, you're not being a man.
Yep. Because when here's the thing, guys, you have to get ready for what's going to happen in a fight. Okay, if you open up too much, your woman's going to use that against you in a fight. If you any type of feminine way that she wants to open you wants you to open up or be, if you get in a fight, you're not masculine enough. She's going to tell you when you guys are fighting.
But that's
Because
also from the mature feminine. It's not That's not from the divine feminine energy, because um uh, if okay, so, and also a woman will use her words to destroy a man in an argument, because we're less likely to use our fists, right? And so a woman's innate nature, even from a young age, little girls are absolute little witches sometimes. Like they can be really mean. Like even before they hit puberty, little girls can be really mean, even to each other with their words. They can be really mean. And so I think when we understand each other, like, okay, men are not gonna, men shouldn't. And I'm gonna tell my son, I do tell my son, don't tell your girlfriend unless she's your wife, because obviously she should have gone past all the checks by that point, and you will know how she is in conflict. If you see that she's one of those women that is has ineffective communication skills, then she's likely to use that in conflict in a negative way.
that's 100% true. 100% true. Um, I was talking to my nephew about that the other day because he's 17. His girl wants him to open up, and he just doesn't say anything. He's a young boy. He's 17, 18. He's going to be the most, this, I'm going to say it harshly, he's going to be the most useless thing in the United States is an 18-year-old boy. You don't know your worth yet. You haven't created anything yet. So you're just useless to society. And he's stressed out about finding his place in the world. And his girl's like, I need you to open up. He tells her, I, how are you going to help me with this? She's 17, but she's doing all this claptrap about he needs to open up. So he doesn't say anything. He says nothing.
Yeah, I
What's on
think
your mind? Nothing, because he
uh,
knows all he can do right now is give her ammunition to use against him in a fight. That's all he can do. So he just says nothing at all.
yeah, well, okay, so I don't think that I do believe that there needs to be a balance. So like, even if they do need to talk to somebody, right? I
Yeah,
don't
have him
believe
talk to
that
you.
men. Yeah, 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 yeah. Exactly. So like, yeah, it might Ethan. I don't have a problem with Ethan being able to communicate. He communicates a bit much sometimes. I'm like, okay, have you finished your story yet? In my mind, I'm like,
Mhm.
this is a really long story. But a lot of, like you said, when testosterone hits, he's probably not gonna want to talk to me because I'm his mum. Like he doesn't want to tell
Yeah,
his mum
and
everything.
I was gonna say, interrupt one last time. I saw you say this before, but for me, testosterone doesn't turn on and off, Naomi. It's a constant thing.
It's a
Okay.
constant thing, but
It's,
as you get older, as you get and puberty hits for boys, there is a surge. There has to
hmm
be. Like when testosterone, when I mean testosterone hits, it's like with women with like hormones. you can see having a daughter and see the transition. It's like a whole flip. I call it shedding their skin, because they're like little tiny, like little baby snakes, and then they shed their skin, and then you've got a whole anaconda in your house, and you're like, who the hell is this?
You're like, what happened?
Literally, you're like, who is this? And then you now have to learn this whole person, because they're no longer an extension of you. So at the moment, Ethan's cute, he's a whole extension of, so there's no conflict, because he is my mirror. And so, as much as they're, he communicates effectively, blah, 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 blah. But then at some point, he's no longer going to be an extension of me. And he's going to be his whole own being, in the sense of from a masculine standpoint, it's already kicking in, where he's trying to like fight me, not fight me, like play fight. But I'm like,
Yeah,
yo,
but
I'm your mom. We ain't doing that. Go to fight your dad, or go outside and fight somebody else. Don't fight me. I'm your mom. It's not,
yeah. I
yeah.
have a really, really important question, and this is going to be really good, and this is going to be you because I mean I have a limited amount from seeing my nephew, and but I'm going to ask a question. Have you seen any difference in the education system with your son and your daughter going through it? Was there a difference in resources and sentiment with your daughter or your son when it comes to the schools and the teachers?
Yeah, with my
That's a good question,
daughter.
right?
Yeah, it's a good
I
question.
know, I know.
Uh,
I got a lot of them.
with my daughter, what happened with me is she's a people pleaser. Um, in the school system, it's favored, isn't it? She wanted to always be the best. She wanted to like be seen as the best, as the high achiever, and all of these things, until she got to secondary school. I'm talking about junior school.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so she was always highly favored and told that she's amazing and all of these things. Whereas my son, in the same situation in junior school, because he thinks outside the box, he likes to ask a lot of questions, and he will fully just say what he thinks, because I've taught him, speak what's on your mind. I want him to ask questions. um and that's gone against him. But with my daughter, who would ask questions, they were like, oh, she's so smart, she's so clever. My son, they were like, oh, I think he's got ADHD. I was like, what? Like, automatically a label got placed on him. Whereas my daughter, who has ADHD, it wasn't seen as that. So in terms of resources, I don't necessarily see. My daughter went to school in a very different place as well. So I think the resources in a bigger city, we do have more resources than the little town that my daughter grew up in. Um, I think it's more the labels and the stigma that gets put on boys over girls, and so that
Yeah, I
level of
would
support and championing women, girls, words of affirmation, should I say, helps them a lot, in their self-worth within their education.
yeah, I would agree because I don't have any kids myself, but I have a 17-year-old nephew, and my nephew, what's that body type where you're just always shredded and powerful? Like you like a mesomorph or something like that? You know what I'm talking about?
I
But
mean, I've never been that, so I can't say that was me then. Sorry.
my nephew's had a six pack like since he was born,
That's
since he was
my
a
little brother,
baby,
actually. My little
right?
brother, he was like
My
5 and
nephew,
he had a whole 6 pack. Yeah.
he had ADD, and my sister had a medication for a while, but then I came to I came into his life as a strong role model, and I could keep him off the medicine as long as I had to put him in football in fall, American football,
Mhm.
basketball in the wintertime, and then two baseball teams in the spring, two baseball teams,
Wow.
right? And so and he could keep it together as long as there was a way for him to have an outlet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like
Yeah.
he was these female teachers just automatically labeled him as defective, and he's had to fight that label ever since. And like, I used to tell him, if this were like 1,000 years ago, you'd be the head of the hunting party. You'd be the war chief.
100%. Yeah.
It's just
100%.
unfortunate that we don't value that. anymore. And then like it got to the point where if a situation came up, he'd have to like double take. Like it kind of eroded his confidence to be assertive because he just figured that the assertion was seen as bad on his part.
Angry
Understand what I'm saying?
or
Yeah.
angry or
Here-
yeah.
here's another thing about guys. Some of the best advice my father told me was when you're encountering adversity, your two knee-jerk emotions that you're gonna you can feel are anger or sadness. And my dad would always recommend get angry about something. Get angry
But
because anger is an emotion of action. It's just a shame that with guys, anger people automatically associate that with violence. No. Okay? Boys are
anger
supposed to
is
get
an
angry
external
about
reaction.
stuff,
Anger
not
is
get
an
sad
external
about stuff.
reaction of
Huh?
that. But anger is an external reaction of sadness. And if we take it even further, it's actually from fear. So like fear, when people are angry and all these things,
Wait.
the
Just stop. Hold
ultimate
on. I got I got to interrupt you because okay, if 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 I'm okay, okay, if I like example, when I was in college and I did everything I on a paper that I thought a teacher wanted me to do, and I got a C minus on a paper, I would get angry
Mhm,
about it. Okay,
mhm,
and I would go to the teacher and say, "This can't happen again. You need to
mhm,
tell me what I need to do to be able to get an A. I want a bulleted list of the things I need to do to get an A on the next paper."
mhm.
How, I was sad about what?
Well, the deep
I'm trying to
innate fear,
understand.
your reaction may have been, but at the core of you, it would have been from sadness. You may have, the response may have been to be angry, but you're sad that why hasn't all of my hard work been seen as
No,
me getting an A? Because
I
anger, what
don't.
is anger? What is anger? It's just a response to how you feel, right? And so if we all react in different ways, but it's the same, it comes from the same feeling, it comes from the same place.
Yeah,
It's just a different reaction.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that
So
because
what is anger? What's anger?
anger is okay. Once again, you perceive the adversity, right? And there's two initial things like side by side with sadness. Sadness and anger are side by side. Okay, most of the time you experience one or the other. You don't do both at the same time. That's why. That's why you see people like. Have you ever seen a woman who finds out that she's gotten cheated on? And you see her whole range, like they call it a range of emotions, because she's not feeling them all at the same time. She usually goes from being really mad, then from going to being sad, and then being like it's hard for you to feel like multiple emotions all at the same time. Understand what I'm saying? So like
Hmm.
that's why I think anger is a starting point. Sadness is a starting point. That's why my dad told me get angry at something because anger is an emotion of action. Sadness is an emotion of inaction. Boys need to be able to get angry about things because they have to take action. Action is a part of being a man. And if you tell a boy to get sad about stuff, he's not gonna act. He's gonna doubt himself. I mean,
But
I'm
it
just
still comes
I'm
from a place of fear. So
mhm.
like if you're getting angry, if you haven't, okay, so if you haven't got the grades that you wanted to get from all the work you put in, what is like, why are you angry that you didn't get the grade? Is it because you then won't achieve something and a fear of not
No, it's
achieving?
because
What?
It's because there was some type of disconnect between what the teacher said in the class and how they graded the paper. That's what it was. The teacher
So there
said
was a
one thing, I
disconnect.
comprehended it that way, and then apparently he graded it differently. Or he wasn't clear, he or she wasn't clear enough in their directions.
Mhm.
You know, so I see you get confused. You're like, wait, I thought he or she said I had to do this and this and this. Then you get angry about it. I always anger doesn't automatically turn into to violence, and that's how we
Oh
frame
no,
this
no, no.
toxic masculinity thing. People are like, oh, if men get angry, but uh, uh, anger can be a good thing if you learn how to channel it into good things. You
Well, it's
know,
all like when we think of all of these feelings, right? It's all just a chemical reaction that's going off in your body, which is like anxiety is a fear of the future, and sadness is like a you're thinking about the past, like, oh, what should have been, or what could have been, or da, 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 whatever. Anxiety, and it's all just chemicals. So, like, when we think about it, like, even anger is only a problem from your actions of the feeling of anger. So, you
I
have the
agree.
feeling, it's what you do with that feeling, jealousy, all of these things are only bad from your actions, because I feel all of the above, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to react the same way as some of these girls that are having punch ups or doing whatever with their boyfriend. And I still feel, but maybe to not the same extent, because I have a an ability to control my actions. um and so I don't see any emotion as a bad emotion. Not one of them are bad, but all it is just a chemical reaction that goes off in your brain, and it's usually fight or flight. It's a just, yeah. And so but it does come from the same place,
Okay.
whether it's sadness or it's just our reaction to. Some people will get angry. I'm more likely to get angry than I am to get sad. I'm not really a sad person. um my daughter is more a sad person, so she's more likely to get sad than she is to get angry, but at the same
Women
time.
in general are more likely to get sad than angry, and they're trying to teach boys to get sad instead of getting angry. Get pissed
mm,
off. Go do something about it. Don't just sit there. Go do something about it.
but then again, you're now trying to, oh, you mean get women should get angry as well?
No, boys.
Boys, yeah, yeah. My son gets angry. He puts little notes on his door: "Mummy, do not come into my bedroom," because he got banned off his Xbox.
Oh no. I, why does he have an Xbox anyway? Get him a PlayStation like a real man.
He wanted an Xbox. Hey, I just told him
What?
I just do what he asked
Naomi,
for.
come on. What kind of parenting
No,
is
I
this?
think no. What
PS5
happened
all
was
day, baby.
my daughter wanted an Xbox, so she got the Xbox. Then he's the second, so he got the hand me down. She never played on it, so she asked for it. She never played on it. Then when Ethan got to a certain age, he started playing on it, and then it just kind of like he then just got another Xbox, because I think you can't, like, all his games wouldn't have then gone onto a PlayStation, and he had already got to a certain point in Xbox. I don't know. I'm not a gamer, so I don't know how this game world works, but he
So
enjoys it.
cool. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm gonna drop the link because I actually had a whole other part of this, but I didn't know that we were coming on an hour or two. Maybe next week we'll do, or maybe the show after next, because
Mhm.
I have a good idea as to what show 3 is, and you're really gonna enjoy it,
It's
Naomi.
a good,
It's
a
gonna
good
be
one.
fun.
Good.
So I'm gonna drop the link in the chat here, and please come up so we'll have a discussion about young men falling behind. What you think, the causes, the solutions. If comment on any of the videos that we watched so far, or the questions I've asked. And here we go.
I get beat up at school by guys twice as old as me. Anger did not help me to stop it. Um, Here's the thing: is I was a very angry girl at school.
Wait, just real quick. Okay,
Mhm,
anger. Okay, I want you to look at George St. Pierre, the UFC welterweight champion. Okay,
mhm.
even if anger will empower you to go to martial arts classes, go to
Yeah,
the gym.
yeah,
Understand? Or example. Um, there were people at my school that I was I used the anger of my I hated high school. I used the anger of my high school experience to do better than all of them. So those days where I didn't I the anger is what carried me through. So you can manifest anger in different ways. Use that anger to go to jujitsu classes.
yeah. What about all the women that go through?
You know,
There's nothing
go to the
sexier
gym,
than a
get the knowledge. Yeah.
There's nothing
Go ahead.
sexier. There's nothing sexier than a woman that's gone through heartbreak because she's angry at a motherfucker that hurt her, and then she goes to the gym and gets hella sexy. I mean, like the glow up
Yeah.
is
See what I'm
magical.
saying?
It's magical because she's like running on that treadmill. Like, I fucking hate you. I'm gonna look sexier than a motherfucker.
Yeah. And next time I see you, you're gonna wish you never would have left me in the first place.
I can't lie. I did exactly the. Sorry, I did exactly the same. My son's dad was like, "God damn you."
Hmm. What the funk, Jay? How you doing, buddy? What's going on? You are live. Let's go. What do you think about young men in the West falling behind? What do you think?
I think that's the goal. I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but they don't want young boys to be thinking outside the box. That's the thing that, especially with public school, is very apparent, is that it's all a program to be funneled into higher education, which is college education. And they want young boys to be falling behind on that. They really don't want young boys to be wanting to educate themselves outside the box of higher education of colleges. So it makes sense that they kind of just put their
Uh-oh. Where'd you go?
Yeah.
Hello? Are you
What the
there?
fuck?
Uh-oh.
He's like, "What the funk?"
am I glitching? Hello?
Yeah, there you
Hello.
are. Now you're back.
Okay.
Uh-oh. You fell off again.
Come again.
No, I'm still here. That was it. That was the end of us.
Okay.
Oh, we
Now,
didn't hear the end of it though.
yeah, we didn't hear the end of it.
Oh crap! I
So-
don't even know where it stopped. Okay, then I'll wrap it up quick and say that it's really just part of the plan as a parent that they really don't want boys to be flourishing outside of the box. They don't want them thinking outside the box, outside of anything that doesn't lead to going to higher education in colleges.
Mm.
I have a question. So we
Sure.
because I think we're of a similar cohort, right? We're about this. What differences in public school did you see as a boy different between the girls? And then do you see a difference? Do you have any children? Forgot.
Yes, I have two. I have a daughter and a son.
And are they school age?
My son's almost 3 and my daughter's almost 6.
Okay,
So I'm
so
sure I'll be noticing it in the next 4 to 5 years, I'm sure.
okay. So your education growing up in the United States, what did you perceive were the difficulties of being a young boy when you were young in America's education system? And
I
did you
just
feel
found that
like it hindered your progress?
I felt that it hindered my life. I just, like I said, I'd rather have been spending time with my grandpa learning a bunch of other things. I'd rather have been outside. I really, I mean, and I was always reading at a young age anyway. So the books that I was reading, we weren't reading that in school. So I always found myself kind of having to educate myself, or because that's what I knew what interested me. And what they were trying to make me be interested in, I found no interest in. And the one thing that really kind of saved me, I think, from a lot of other bullshit is that my grandfather was very apparent. Like, well, this is what they're teaching you in history. No, let me let you know what really happened. Let me let you know what really happened to Native Americans, because he felt that the public school system was either not teaching me properly or it was brainwashing me to learn some bullshit that wasn't true.
Okay. What and that's really good that your grandfather was such a big part of your life. That's awesome, man. I like hearing stories like that. Um, with all the different trends, all the numbers that we talked about, because it's even worse in America. Like, how do you think boys falling behind is going to affect the economy in the West?
I think it's affecting the economy in the West in a positive way, because again, women are the catalysts of capitalism. So
That's true.
I mean, it's the truth. So if they actually put money towards educating young men, it would actually probably make capitalism go backwards a bit. So that's the thing. They really just want young girls to be the ones who feel like they're the leaders, because they'll be the ones kind of tricking men as adults to, like, you'll follow their lead about this and money and controlling this, because they're educated, and they'll always kind of pull that up, like, well, I went to school for this, so it kind of taps into, like, well, I'm smarter than you, or I know better
Mm.
than you.
do you think that there will always be a core group of masculine men to be able to perform enough for society to thrive, or do you think that there's like a minimum threshold point that can be reached, where there won't be enough traditionally masculine, when men win, everyone wins for society type of men? And this is
Well, I think that
for
society,
both you
that's the
two.
thing, they're trying to edge those out. So with all the robots and everything that's coming around, it's going to be more and
Mm,
more young men who are being exited out by the robot jobs. So
Mhm.
it really doesn't matter.
that's what I was saying earlier.
So
Yeah.
this is going to be more and more young boys, depressed and in their own little like bullshit apartments and on the
Metaverse.
internet, seeing a life that they wish they had. But
Have you seen?
they'll still always be working some of those jobs that have to be there to pay their bills for the matrix and for everything else. So there will always be a subsection of men who will be working those jobs, but most of those jobs will be exited out by robots and other things.
Well, there's actually been a return of manufacturing in the United States, because
E-
the
okay.
the 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 limit as to which is profitable for the most the majority of American manufacturing to be in the Far East, that's been reached and exceeded. So you're actually seeing a lot of manufacturing come back. In fact, I think because we're at an hour 11, like I wanted to show. I think since we have like 40 minutes left, I can go into the second part of the show because I have one more part to this. Let me do it real quick. You guys can hang out. You have time.
Jay, are you sick?
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you sick?
Am I sick? No.
You got a cold?
No, I'm not smoking, so I've been coughing up all that smoker phlegm. So
Ah,
maybe that's why I
that'll do.
sound.
I
Maybe that's
could
why I
Good
feel
sound like
it.
job,
crap.
man. No smoking. Good job.
I
It's
could.
tough.
You should get
Mm,
a herb called cat's claw. It removes mucus from
Oh no, okay. It's called cat claw.
cat's claw. Yeah, you can get it on Amazon,
Okay.
or you could get it
wh-
from a local herbalist
wh-
if you have one of those. But
What?
cat's claw, it removes mucus
So
from
do you
the body.
like eat it or something? Do you smoke
No,
it? What?
so you just buy it. So you simmer it and make it into a tea. It's quite strong, so you can put honey in it or agave syrup. But if you simmer it and then drink it, and also what else is good for removing mucus is pineapple skin. If you boil the pineapple skin and then put cayenne pepper with it, that removes mucus from the body too.
That is all new to me. I will definitely Google it and then try to create it.
Naomi, you are a treasure and a jewel.
Thank you.
Wow. So, yeah, okay. So I'm gonna keep the link because I had no idea. In fact, next time I get sick or something or has some kind of symptoms, I'm
But
gonna,
Message me.
I'm going to, yeah. So let's get into the second part of the show because we're at 1:12, and I want to go for 2 hours here. Um, so part two is let me actually read some of these comments requests. So CEP was the guy that said that he got bullied in school. He says anger is a motivation but not the solution. My point is that if you do not learn to channelize it, then it is just toxic. I learned judo and kick butts, but this was not the solution at the end. Um, oh, 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 oh. Logic says production is the engine but not the demand consumption. Um,
I think also that just back to that what he's just said, I think the combination between breath work and meditation with the ability to kick somebody's ass if needs be is a great combination for any man or boy
yeah, I'd agree.
growing up.
you
You
you,
still got
you
to be able
learn
to
the
kick
skills
ass.
necessary. You learn the skills necessary to not have to use it. That's just like
Exactly.
you should be able to get angry, but not have to act on the anger. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Or
but you
figure out
don't
how
want to
to
get
act
beat up.
on the anger, you know, in other ways besides violence.
Yeah,
So,
well, it's like if somebody tries it with you, you can put them in their place, but at the same time, you're not controlled by your anger.
mhm. So McTabb Logic says there's less jobs in farming now compared to 1850, unless you count the new jobs making tractors, making plant food, seeds, crop planting, etc. Frenchie
I would
is
like
in
to
the
have a farm.
house. Frenchie's in the house. Now we can form the Megazord. The Pink Ranger's here. Let's go.
Mhm.
What were you gonna say, Naomi?
I would like a farm. I would like to have a farm, but I don't think I would like to kill the animals though.
Well, uh,
I don't think it'd be much of a farm, would it? I just want the animals
I just
to
think
be
that
my
it's just
pet.
did you say that a dog and a cat is you don't want to get a dog and a cat, but you want to have a whole farm?
I would like, yeah, because dogs and cats are kind of boring, aren't they? I would like a baby goat. I would like a goat. They're so funny, aren't they? Have you seen the way they run? And then when they fall over, they just like stop. I would like a goat and some chickens so you can have eggs. So like when I say a farm, I don't mean like a whole farm. And I would like a baby cow, like a
Mhm.
cow, because cows are really compassionate. They're just beautiful animals. But I don't want to eat any of them. And I don't like I wouldn't be able to have a farm and eat my own cows.
Yeah, a farm is just way too much work. What you got to do is make enough money where you can, like have those and then like pay for them to be on someone else's farm, and you can go visit them whenever you want.
No, I could look after them.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're gonna get into the second part of the show, and we should be able to fit it in. It says part two is young men in the workforce. 7.2 million men have essentially dropped out of the workforce in the United States. These are men between the ages of 25 to 54. With 770,000 manufacturing jobs open, it is surmised that young men are not taking these jobs because of the perception of them being dirty jobs.
Mm,
Okay. Um, and that jobs going through the college system pay more money. Although on average, manufacturing jobs in the United States pay about $32 an hour in 2022. It's been found that these men, especially the young ones, are spending their time relaxing, playing video games, watching TV, an average of about 8 hours to 9 hours a day. Right?
wow.
Oh yeah, China's in the house. The man's voice. Let's go. Always good to see you. Let's go.
Mm.
Um, and everyone, please subscribe to the Manon's Voice China's channel. It's literally at my name is China. Go over there, give him a like. Go to Naomi's channel and like her channel at I know me Naomi, please. And anyway, I'm gonna keep going. So not only do you have fewer young men working, but you also have the dating market working in a way that we've never seen before. Everything that red pill channels like this one and just pearly things and stuff have talked about have culminated into news stories like this one. Let me bring this up real quick. And we are going to watch maybe the first like 6 minutes of this so you can get the gist of it. And I think a lot of you guys in the chat have seen this one, but I don't think Naomi has, so we're gonna watch this one. Where is the window of StreamYard? Where are you? There we are. Oh, hold on real quick. Uh-oh, I lost StreamYard. Where are you? Uh-oh, hold on. Oh my goodness. I lost the StreamYard window. Hold on. Hold
Dun,
on.
dun, 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 dun.
Oh my
Women
goodness.
pay rent just like men, so I'm cool with it. What?
Okay, here we go. It opened in the window next to it. Okay, so let's see here. Uh AJ, how's it going, buddy? Good to see you. What's going on?
Yo, what's going on, guys?
Real quick, so we're gonna watch the CNN clip where they talk about the dating situation with young men and women in the U.S. real quick. So let's watch that, and then I'm gonna want to hear your viewpoint on this whole thing. So let's get to that. Okay, here we go. So if you haven't seen this before, this is CNN talking about the dating situation in the United States. This is why the rate of single men in the U.S. looking for dates has declined. So let's go.
Here into recent data from the CDC suggesting major problems with regard to the mental health of our adolescents, surges in depression and suicidal ideation, especially true for our girls. This week, I found cause to worry about young men. This headline from The Hill, it caught my eye. Most young men are single. Most young women are not. The story reported that as of 2022, Pew Research Center found 30% of U.S. adults are neither married, living with a partner, nor engaged in a committed relationship. Nearly half of all young adults are single. Now, look at these numbers. 34% of women, twice as many, a whopping 63% of men. What explains that? I pulled the Pew study and I read
Women are dating older men, although you see in the current narrative that men shouldn't date younger, but the younger women are dating older men.
with interest. Turns out since 2019, the share of single men who say they're looking for dates or a relationship has declined from 61% to 50%. In 2018, 28% of men ages 18 to 30 reported they'd had no sex in the past year, compared with 18% of women of that age. The Hill report said men in their 20s are more likely than women in their 20s to be romantically uninvolved, sexually dormant, friendless, and lonely. They stand at the vanguard of an epidemic of declining marriage, sexuality, and relationships that afflicts all of young America. Among the causes, among the factors, a reliance on social media and online porn. But also, more young women are hooking up with each other or dating and marrying slightly older men, and heterosexual women are getting more choosy. Other troubling statistics about men come from a 2021 study from the Survey Center for American Life. They found the share of men who have 6 or more close friends, which in 1990 was 55%, by 2021 had shrunk by half. Meanwhile,
What do we think so far, Naomi? Did you know about any of this?
Yeah, from Pearl's show, but in terms of the stats of men not getting any, and which I didn't know before that, I just thought that
That
if
all
we're
the guys
having
were just
sex,
out here living it up, huh?
living their best life, I would do, and also because yeah, I just didn't
Because you
know.
mess around with Chad and Tyrone sometimes.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
I
but
think it's
remember,
also because I didn't like. I think when you don't see, I only saw what I wanted to see. And so what I saw was the people that I were within my dating pool.
I don't even think that is that. They have the sharpshooter fallacy, right? And the sharpshooter fallacy is you can name every time that you hit the bullseye on a dartboard, but you can't name every single time that you missed, right? That
Mm-hmm.
means that you notice all the people that are attractive to you, especially women, but they don't notice all the other guys. You will walk, like most women will walk by like an entire club full of dudes and only notice there was 2 guys there. All the rest of the guys
That's
are
what I was
invisible.
meaning. That's
Yeah,
what I was meaning by in my pool. Like I've only seen what is in my pool, my pond. So I didn't realize it because most of my past relationships, the guys have easily been able to cheat on me. So I didn't even know that meant they would be in the above average top 20%. I was like, really? That's a thing? Because I didn't know that men. I thought, well, if every guy's cheating on me, then they all must be just cheats out here. I thought just every guy was just getting loads of vagina.
well,
Nope,
you
ain't
gotta.
happening.
But the saddest part about this whole thing that we're watching is this news reporter guy got a bunch of heat from feminist groups that he even does this story anyways. Anything that involves reporting men's pain and negative experience, they just label as anti-woman because I believe he does some type of follow-up or whatever. But he actually talks about the hate that he's got on Twitter, and the only people that come to his aid that are women are mothers of sons. I say thank you for actually doing a story, but all the rest of the women are all, oh, you hate women because you're talking about how hard it is for men out there. So
And that's
And then
really sad that
go ahead.
sorry,
Go ahead.
I was going to say that it's really sad that we've got to a point where we can't highlight different perspectives without somebody else getting offended and making it about them. Just because we can highlight that this group of people, men, are having a hard time, it doesn't mean that you're then like, why does it have to be about sides and not about, rather than about understanding so that we can get to a place of working together? Because when we the deeper understanding that comes from the fact, like even for me, since being in this space, my son's dad is probably like, thank fuck Naomi went on just fairly things, because the deeper understanding and empathy and that I've now got from being told these things is beneficial. It's beneficial for my son as well.
Well, yeah,
It's about pettiness, power, and vindictiveness. A lot of women, they have power now. If funding from the government for like national organization of women and blah blah blah, in order to keep that funding, they have to have this nebulous boogeyman, and then the vindictiveness. We've been wrong for this long, so we're gonna make sure that you pay for this. These men that have nothing to do with the quote unquote patriarchy of the past, we are gonna make you pay for it, and you're gonna grovel until we feel satisfied, and that's how it
yeah,
works.
yeah, yeah. McTabb by logic says why? Because women have a fixed pie fallacy. Also, they can't afford for any man to have his problem solved if that solving benefits a woman other than them. That's true. Uh, I, I I wanted to comment on this men with zero close friends thing. Then we're going to continue the video because we're going to watch the first like 8 minutes of it. But on road trips, I switched to NPR, like NPR's national public radio, and they have these studies, right? And every time I switch to NPR on a road trip, I always find like an interesting story. You guys know that 80%, like in 80% of marriages in the United States, the woman is a social director. 80%. So
80%.
80%. So there's a rise in self deletions between men who get gray divorced, as in the kids grow up out of the house, they're in their 40s, and their woman leaves them after the kids are out of the house. What happens is, guys, they don't make, you'll never make friends again as a guy like you do the ones in basic training in your first 4 years of the military or college.
Yeah.
So a woman just automatically takes the role of, okay, honey, so on Friday night we're gonna do this, and then Saturday we're gonna take the kids to Jan's house, and then we're gonna go to my parents' house, and then Sunday we're gonna go to church, and then Sunday evening you're gonna do the yard, okay? Okay, honey. Sure, honey. Sure, honey. Okay,
I
honey.
like that you've got different voices.
Oh yeah, all day. So these honey-do lists are the destruction of men because it robs the man of being able to connect with. If you don't flex your muscles of being social, you won't know how to do it. So the woman leaves the man, and he hasn't had to make friends or connect with another man or anybody else in 25 years. So he deletes himself. And
I
this
think
is
also
why.
that's codependency, though. When we lose the intradependency, like the fact that the man should also keep a level of his own sovereignty, like him as
Agency.
exactly, like
That's
he
toxic
should.
masculinity nowadays.
No,
A guy wanting his own agency and his own hobbies and stuff in America. That's why I said it before. I'll say it again. Women have downplayed what it means for a man to walk a woman down the aisle because that's what he does. He gives a man gives up his own agency. There's this myth that women want to be independent in a relationship or a
it's
marriage.
it should be intradependency. Both should come in as like, and there should be like an overlapping of circles. Like the middle bit is us, and then we should both have our own away, so that when the children do get older, it's not we're looking at each other like, it's
Yeah.
just us doing that.
Or there's
Then there's still an
a
excitement of
lockdown.
well, a lot
And
of
we have to be around each other all day.
people's relationships broke down, but I also saw a lot of relationships that weren't as deeply connect during lockdown, because they got to spend that intimate quality time with each other, and they learned. And one of my friends who is married to her husband, they were struggling before lockdown, and after lockdown, like they're so in love with each other again because they met each other at where they were at now. And so I think if you've got two people that love each other and want to work with each other, that's where, because they're independent separately, like interdependent, should I say, not independent, they still have their own passions, their own hobbies outside of the relationship. But inside the relationship, they have this deep understanding of what are we gonna do together to grow,
I
separate
think
from
Those
our
days are gone.
that there's one major factor here that we have to realize too, and that a lot of times, one of the reasons why a guy will be isolated from his friends, because there's a lot of women that get jealous that men it can go out with their friends and be so easily entertained, right? Like it's happened to me where I was in a relationship in my 20s and my ex just couldn't stand the fact that I could go play poker with my friends, go play Halo with my friends. See, guys, we're very simple. And I honestly think that a lot of times women have to like have these social situations and go paint with wine and all this foolishness. Whereas guys, we can sit there and throw a ball and tackle each other in the mud and have fun. And I really, really think that there's some jealousy there. I've heard girls say, "What is it's so crazy how men can just get along." You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think that there's girls who will get with guys and they're jealous that Steve has had his poker game with Rodney and Stan since college. And next thing you hang out with those guys too much. You guys
that's where
drink
boundaries need to come in, though. I think
modern
boundaries
women and
for
boundaries.
I think well, I mean, like that's the beautiful thing about boundaries. If you set boundaries and a woman doesn't like them, then she doesn't like them. Even for me, I've set boundaries with people, and if they don't like them, whether it's friendships or an intimate relationship, then boy, I don't know what to say to you, but this is my boundary. And if I have been in a relationship with somebody who didn't have friends, and it was emotionally exhausting for me because
worst.
I do have friends.
Yeah,
And
being
so
an
it was then
extrovert.
like I was obligated to then constantly be there.
You have to be everything to them.
Yeah,
You have
and
to
I'm
be
not
everything all the time.
But then also they put you on this pedestal of everything that then when you don't meet up to their expectations of this everything, like as much as I'm an I'm extroverted, I need like a whole, like my one night out of social interaction, I need a whole week to recharge away from a massive group of people because I feel people so deeply that it's a lot for me. And so if I'm around somebody all the time, if they don't have a social cues as well to know, okay, like we
Time to
don't
get the
need
heck up out of here. I got to leave Naomi alone.
we don't need to be sat looking at each other every 5 minutes of every single day. It gets a lot. And
Yeah.
and also like having to entertain somebody all the time.
Yeah,
Like
that's why women don't understand about dating. Like going out is good, but you want to find a woman that's just fine. Like she should be fine with, look, hey, what are you doing today? If you come over to my house, I'm watching the game. Okay, and just be able to appreciate that. Or if you come over to my house, I'm playing my PlayStation. But no, like a lot of women, they don't want you to do what you want to do. What do you do on Sunday?
Do it, and they don't have and they never do anything.
Yeah,
they don't want you to do anything either.
Yeah, it'll go like this, Naomi. What are you doing Sunday? Watching the game and playing PlayStation. What are you doing that for? Don't do that. I want to hang out with you. Okay, what do you want to do? I don't know. Think of something. You're the man. I did think of something. I was going to watch the game and play my PlayStation. Yeah, but I don't want. What am I supposed to do? Think of something. Okay, well let's go to this restaurant. I don't want to go there. We went there last week. And you have to tap dance like a monkey to these women and pay for it.
Yeah, that is wild. But then I think there definitely needs to be like a balance because I'm very much a go with the flow kind of person, and sometimes it can like end up that I'm just doing everything that they want to do. And that's where I had to then learn my own boundaries of like, actually, I don't want to go out all the time and drink alcohol because I don't drink alcohol. So
I can beat to some game. This illustrates the fundamental difference between men and women. Beat this, right? See, men, we want to go do things, right? And most of the things guys want to do, everyone can enjoy, men and women, right? Most of the things that a lot of girls want to do, flower shows and stuff, why would
it's just for them?
My point is, a man will invite his girl to be nice. He doesn't want her to go because he knows she won't have a good time. But then she'll say yes because she doesn't want to
Uh-oh. Hello? Hello?
We
Everybody's
mean
broken up.
and say
Uh-oh. You're having sound issues.
no. There,
He's
because
on.
she's
Wait.
miserable because she doesn't want to go to the car show.
Uh-oh.
Your car
AJ,
show.
your sound's conking out. I don't know what's going on, but hello? Let me see. Is he still in the... Oh, he dropped out. Anyway, let's continue with the video.
Yeah.
And if he comes back in, I'll let him back in.
Those with literally zero close friends, which stood at 3% in 1990, has zoomed to 15%. An expert quoted by The Hill said this disconnect can have catastrophic consequences for young men. Quote, in the worst case scenario, the young American man's social disconnect can have tragic consequences. Young men commit suicide at 4 times the rate of young women. Younger women are largely responsible for rising rates of mass shootings, a trend that some researchers link to their growing social isolation. Well, those words reminded me of a conversation that I had over a year ago, right here on CNN, with NYU professor Scott Galloway.
But the issue is when you have a group of men, the lower half of attractiveness of men in online dating, which has doubled, now it's about half of relationships, and the top 20% of men in terms of attractiveness get about 60% of the interest, you end up with a group of men.
You've heard that before, haven't you, Naomi?
I've definitely heard that.
As
Yep.
you just mentioned, we see it as
Oh, sorry.
about problems with people of color or women. We see
Wait,
it as
whoa. I missed the...
men
hold
were
on.
seen as more economically in
Hold on, sorry.
the service, and we decided to give.
I messed it up. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Wait. Oh, I was back here. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I hit the little thing here. Uh-oh, what's going on?
Now it's about half of relationships.
There we go.
And the top 20% of men in terms of attractiveness get about 60% of the interest.
The 80-20
You
rule.
end up with a group of men that are more prone to conspiracy theory, more prone to misogynistic content, more prone to not believe in climate change. So this is the American story. If it's written with a pen whose ink is failing young men, does not end well. This is an existential crisis, failing young men.
As always, Professor Galloway was prescient. Back with me now is Scott Galloway. He's a professor of marketing at NYU Stern School of Business. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's the host of the Professor G podcast and author of multiple best-selling books, most recently, Adrift, America in 100 Charts. Scott, thanks for returning. Hasn't the advantage always been to those with the looks and or the money? What's changed?
First off, Mike, I just want to say thank you for raising this issue a year ago when a lot of media companies were afraid to talk about this for fear of it being pro-men was somehow being anti-women. Look, this is returning to the natural order of things. For the majority of history, a small percentage of men have had the majority of the mating opportunities. But in America, we decided to make a huge investment in what would probably be the greatest innovation in history, and that is in the middle class. From 1945 to 1947, 7 million men returned from war were discharged from the service, and we decided to give them the GI Bill, subsidized mortgages. We saw
So the GI Bill is if you serve in the Army, they give you money for college, and then after World War II, they give you no interest loans to buy a house, and that's how the suburbs were built in the United States.
education rates go from 5 to 45%. They were valued, and we had such a strong manufacturing base that you had massive marriage and household formation. And some men were seen as more economically and emotionally viable. And you've seen the reverse happen with the offshoring of much of our manufacturing base, with a society that quite frankly doesn't value young men. When we talk about problems with people of color or women, we see it as a systemic societal problem. When we see problems or the stats that you just mentioned, we see it as accountability, or the men just need to level up.
What do you think about that?
I don't have much of a...
It's crazy, right? He's right. if there's something wrong with people of color or women, it's a systemic issue, and policies and procedures have to be placed. But if it's something with young men, we just need to sack up and take it.
Yeah.
And like AJ said earlier, well, they've had it good anyway. And one of the things about being a black male, black men, we are walking, talking anti-feminism because black men are doing bad. And white women, Asian women, black men are doing worse in almost every measurable stat. But they just group us in. That's why one of the best things I've ever heard, especially be a black guy, is the left, no, the right hate us because we're black, and the left hate us because we're men.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. But looking for everything when it comes to women and people of color, it's it's a systemic issue. But when it comes to men, poor them. Well, they're just men. Anyway, I
Yeah.
could talk about this all day.
But married households and household formation.
And let me just say this: I have white male friends who are accomplished. They're great guys, and I hate the fact that so many white guys I know, they're like, "Well, I can't talk about LGBT, HGTV issues. I can't talk about black issues." Yes, you can. Yes, you can. If you're an accomplished, successful,
they should talk about it as well.
yes, because here's the thing about it: women can't get what they want without male allies, because men still own the power structure and make more money. People of color, we can't get anywhere without having white allies, and to exclude white people from our conversations is stupid. So if you're a white male, yes, you have to be more tactful about it, but you can speak on these things. Don't just stay silent. Why? Especially if they start insulting. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was sorry to cut you. I was going to say that I think that makes them part of the problem by staying silent. If you can see something and you have an opinion on it and you decide to stay quiet just because you may offend somebody, I think then you're part of the problem.
Well, see, no, I can't say that though. I can't because they have to look. Just like if I'm a man and I see something happening to a woman, I don't have to go help her.
You don't have
No,
to. You don't have to.
I don't
But at
have
the
to say
same time,
anything either. I don't
you
have to
don't
do that
you don't have to. But
because
if
I
we're
have to
saying
look at myself first. I have to make sure that in this
but
day and
then that
age, if if you're a white guy and you're a room full of minorities and stuff is going on, you can't just say something. You have to
but then
preserve
that's just
yourself
gone
first.
against what you just said. You've just said
No,
that
it doesn't.
we need our what you just said that you need white men, successful white men should say something because we
Yeah,
need them allies,
but they have
right?
to make sure they're not saying it to a group of people that are toxic or can use it against them. So there are
We're not.
times where they should stay quiet.
There should be discernment used
Yes,
100%.
that's all I'm saying.
There should always be discernment in any of these kind of sensitive topics. But
Yeah.
at the same time, if you like you said that you don't have to, but for me personally, if I see something, it's just in my I'm just in my nature. I don't care if I'm going to offend somebody. I'm going to say something.
Yeah, but you're a woman. If you're a man and you say the wrong thing at work, you can get a case on you.
When
So
yeah, well, 100, and I'm sure if I was a white woman and I said something to a black lady, I'm sure I would also be able to get a case on me.
no,
But
that's not true, because white women are the most protected people in the West. They can do whatever they want. Because that's not true at all. Why do you think? Where do you think the term Karen comes from? Karens come from white women. Like white women are the most. White women in the West are the most dangerous group of people on the planet because they can play every role on the chessboard. You as a white woman can spit in your face, and you start whooping that woman, and people will grab you and try to save her.
100%. Actually,
So don't ever say that. No, no.
There was a girl when I was growing up who called me a nigger, and instead it got taken because it was like we were in school still. It got taken to court, and I said stop sniggering, and they believed her.
Yeah,
because I beat her up. And so I got excluded from school. She said, I said, stop sniggering, and they believed her. I was like, who even uses that term?
Yeah.
Nobody, like, we're,
She must have looked that up in the dictionary before.
I'm like, who says that? Like, especially if you're in a heated argument, who's going to be like, oh, stop sniggering at me? Like, who says that?
Yeah.
And then she tried to come back years and years later to try and be my friend. She was like, oh, I was just young growing up. I was like, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, right.
Not
Get out of
only
here.
racist, that you also added on top of it, made me look like a liar and got away
Yeah.
with it. And I got in trouble again.
Yeah, it's funny that a lot of black women want to do, even if you look at that show Miss America on Hulu, they have the show about the fight for abortion in America, right? And that fight in the 60s was married white women on the left versus married white women on the right. Okay? Like suburban housewives on the left, and then married kind of more liberal women who had kids and husbands, and the only non-married women were black women. We're the only ones there, yay, on the pro-choice side, but none of them had husbands, right? And it equals out today to where you have a lot of black women who want to take sides with these white women and don't understand. You can be walking at work, Naomi, just having, like, not a bad day, but just be thinking about something. And some Becky is going to go to HR and be like, there's this black woman named Naomi. And she just makes me feel uncomfortable.
I don't know exactly what it is, but I just feel like there's something. She just giving me bad vibes. Can you do something about it? Then all of a sudden you're in the office talking to your boss about the vibes you're giving off.
Well, Naomi, you got to understand that the way that you come off to people, like, why are you not talking to all the other women about this? And it happens anyways.
My angry side when I was growing up was always my black side.
Of course it was.
My black side.
Asshole.
Like what?
So-
Because I grew up in a town, every single person was white. I think there was one other black family, maybe. Like, but yeah, I was like the blackest person there. And so yeah, my anger was obviously my black side.
Olivia, that figures. Let's get through about 2 more minutes of this video.
Are better citizens. They vote. They save at twice the rate. They're less likely to commit crimes. And we have fewer and fewer viable men. We have a dearth of economically and emotionally viable men. But the middle class is an accident. Unless you invest in it, it doesn't happen. Eisenhower decided to invest $500 billion in a national highway project that created tons of jobs. We have, and by the way, the tax rate back then was 91%. We raised money and we redistributed in social programs that made young people more economically viable.
And then, Scott, you toss in the influence of social media and how relationships today, they don't come from, in our era, happenstance and mingling, right? They come from swiping, and that further accelerates this issue. Am I right?
Oh, it's been the chaser to it. I mean, to have an honest conversation about this, we have to be honest. And that is that men and women have different mating criteria. One quarter of men saying economic viability is a key criteria to mate. 3/4 of women say that is important. And
did you hear that? We've heard this all before, haven't we?
But Doug and I did a video, and I did too, about economically viable women now, right? And how now because more women go to college than men, and they're taking on all this student loan debt. So you have a lot of guys who might be working, making an above average income and a blue collar job, but they have no debt. So they will meet a young girl and be like, all right, well, you're cool, but you have $165,000 worth of student loan debt for a low income field. You are not economically viable. I'd rather date a girl who's on fries at Chick-fil-A. You know what I'm saying?
100%. That's another thing. We talk about the lack of, of economically attractive males, but we don't talk about the overabundance of economically unattractive females. When I ask a woman if she has any kids. If she has kids, you're out. Then I ask her how much student loan debt you have. If you have over $100,000 in student loan debt, you're out. I've met women with $300,000 in student loan debt.
Wow. This is why my daughter was at university to do a acting course degree, and she started, and she was like, she realized that it was making her depressed thinking about the debt that she was going to have, and she didn't even know if she wanted to be an actress. So
Yeah,
she was, why am I here to get debt for what? Like,
yeah.
Wait, but here's the thing: you're in the UK. Okay,
mm,
this is, I don't want to be too off topic, but I think it was Lorenz Tate was on some show talking trash about how there's so many Black British actors and actresses now. Like there's this whole thing over here where they're like, oh, they're trying to erase American blacks from Hollywood, right? So they're
mm.
basically like blaming the Black Brits, and it's just like, well, in correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys do like more theater and choir and stuff from an earlier age in schools. You know what I'm
One
saying? Like the
that
arts. Huh?
it the arts is very much driven. That my daughter
Yeah,
since she was born, that is all she's done. I
yeah.
never
Whereas,
forced her to be more academic because I could see that even though she is academic, she was very much in ballet, dance, singing. Then she went to the Brit School, which is a performing arts school. Then she did street dance. Then she went to in college. She did a diploma. Her A levels. She did acting for theatre and the arts, and then she went to university. But she left university and now she works full time. But she makes music as well. So like
but,
it's always been
but
Well,
Black Americans,
real
if
quick,
you're
real
in
quick. Well,
choir,
hold on. I want to say it's up until like the 2000s, or maybe the 2010s. Maybe the 2000s, but the best white male voices were usually from, a lot of them were from Britain, like Sting, Phil Collins. Because here's the thing: Americans, we'd have that Bruce Springsteen
what?
type where, no, seriously, because um,
Or
it,
or
a
like
lot of,
Creed and stuff.
yeah. So a lot of the classically trained white male voices, like you said, Britain focuses on you. You can be a young man, going to school for music or for choir and stuff like that. Whereas, in America in the '90s, it wasn't seen as masculine for like a white. And then, I mean, country music. You don't have to. I'm sorry, you don't have to know how to sing to be a country artist. You just don't. So like that's why there's so many. Whereas Black America has culturally embraced singing. The church and all that stuff. It's only recently that like a lot of white males have embraced, going to musician school, for mainstream music. But a lot of the times it was really British, like before Sting and, you know, a lot of the best white singers from the 80s. I'm freaking, uh, who sings, my favorite 80s song, Bring Me oh yes, Steve Winwood from the 80s, British guy.
Yeah, but here, if you're black and you're in theater, they either say you're acting white or you're gay or something. You know what I'm
Yep,
saying?
it's
So
true.
And what's his there's Slick with Kit, he does theatre, he's an actor,
Hmm.
um the one that goes on Pearl's show.
Hmm.
It's not seen as like I think it's not seen as not masculine doing theatre and doing performing
Here,
art.
here in the U.S., it's still kind of, you're seen as like a theater geek and like not masculine.
Even
And actually, if you want to see a different, interesting story, Adam Driver, got out of the Marine Corps and went to acting school, and his like Marine Corps mindset was so off-putting to a lot of the theater folks at first that they had to have multiple conversations with him about toning down, and being like softer and stuff, because he come in there like, yes sir, no sir, from the Marine Corps, and that was one of his biggest culture shocks, is all that Marine masculinity. There's really isn't a place for that in theater in the United States.
well because okay, from a creative standpoint, it doesn't come from that methodical, structured rigidity. It comes from a place of free flowing creativity, which comes from stillness and softness and comes from your feminine.
Well, but there are method actors though,
Yeah,
like
that's but
Jack
that,
Nicholson,
that's
who
that's method, but that's not creativity. That's a way in which you can dig into. It's a way in which you can go inward to form a character, so that somebody else has written that part for you. But when you're in school learning how to be an actor, you then have to find your own way, because not a lot of actors can do method acting. You'll have certain actors that are great at doing method acting. My friend, she's an actress and she hates method acting. And
Yeah,
if you see most of her characters, it's very much a similar portrayal of who she is.
method acting is a dying art, though. There are like fewer and fewer method actors, which is really, really sad because some of the greatest actors are method actors. So, so, there's maybe like 30 more seconds of this video we're going to watch, and then we're closing out the show.
When you're on a two-dimensional format, where now it's 1 and 2 relationships begin online, it used to be 1 and 4 just a few years ago, it gets distilled down to a small number of criteria. Specifically for men, it's does she look attractive? And specifically for men, is he able to signal his ability to garner resources in the future? An average attractive male on Tinder gets swiped less than 1% of the time. And there's 3 men on Tinder for every 1 woman. So you've distilled it, you've taken out one of the key components of mating dynamics, and that is vibe, humor, body language, pheromones, the ability to be, quite frankly, a little bit persistent in the pursuit of a romantic relationship.
There you go.
I was going to say, I looked at a study that said that speed dating in person works 75% better. You have a 75% better chance of meeting a person and successfully coupling from speed dating than online dating.
I was going to go speed dating.
You should go.
It wasn't for myself, but my friend at the time, she was struggling. And so I was like, let's go, because I would love it. I would enjoy it. Just the whole interaction. I love people, right? I like just communicating, and I just thought it would be an interesting thing. But she didn't want to go. I was like, well, you're never going to meet a man, are you, in your house? And so yeah.
Does she have kids?
No.
Oh,
so your husband's supposed to
How old is
find
she?
you.
My age.
Okay.
30. My husband is going to find me.
But what I'm saying is that if your friend doesn't put herself out there, she won't be found. Because remember,
exactly.
Boaz had to pawn Ruth. You remember Boaz in the Bible? He was out there, and Ruth was out there to be found, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into this Christian feminist thing. Never mind. Yeah, forget I said that.
You're like, I said that. I don't think that so as much as I'm like, yeah, speed dating, I may, but I believe that I'm out there enough in the world for my person to find me, and we will align, and the universe will bring him to me. Yeah.
Get a bike. Get into cycling.
She already has one.
I do have a bike.
How are you not meeting successful, driven?
I do meet. But here's the thing: is they are always in America. That is I seem to be attracted to American men more than British men, in terms of who I could see myself mentally, because for me, I'm a sapiosexual, so it's not just about
Naomi.
Seriously, I have to be mentally attracted to somebody, otherwise my body.
Here's the thing. You know, okay. You know what? Because I'm gonna have a show. Like we're gonna have to do a policy plus energy show on. You don't see a lot of women on online dating profiles that are just heterosexual. You can put on your online dating profile that you're pansexual, sapiosexual, demisexual. What is all this stuff? Okay, if you're going to be a sapiosexual, you need to have a bulleted list of what that is, because a lot of women see women like to gray stuff up and murk stuff up.
Well, there's no grayness about it. If I'm not mentally attracted to you, we're not going to have sex.
Someone's mentality is
It's not
you could.
mentality. It's the
It's
ability to communicate on a deeper level than just surface.
Uh,
Like even these conversations for me mentally are stimulating. There's some men that can't even have a conversation like this.
yes, but I'm gonna end on this. If you're in public and a guy comes up, there can be 4 guys who come up and talk to you.
Mhm.
Initially, before you even communicate on a deeper level, you are gonna know as a woman if that's the type of guy that you're gonna even entertain to even get to that
Yeah.
communication.
Initially, it's attraction.
So that demisexual part. What? Hold on.
Mhm.
Okay. So the sapiosexual part, you're on B and C. We're talking about A. See, people who say sapio, they skip past the A part. The initial 5
that's
seconds.
100% true. That's
That
100%
matters
true.
more than any sexual, actual,
But I
mexual,
don't
crystal
struggle on.
mexuals.
But I don't struggle on that element of it. The bit that I
Okay.
struggle
But you
on
have to
is
describe that
yeah,
part first.
but the bit that I struggle on, yeah. But here's the thing: is that attraction isn't a choice, right? So the initial attraction, I don't pick and choose what I'm initially attracted to. And so it's like, yes, I can make a list. Oh, he has to be this and he has, but at the same time there is also variables within what I'm attracted to. So if I meet somebody and he may not be 6'5", or I'm just exaggerating here for YouTube purposes, he may not be 6'5", he may be 5'8", but we have that mental connection. I'm more likely to date the 5'8" guy than the 6'5" guy that I have no mental connection with.
Well,
And that's my
Doug,
point.
I gotta dip out. So it was nice talking to both of you guys as usual. I could say all of this, like, it's Generation X, Millennials, and Gen Z. We just have a way of making things too fucking complicated. Like everything that we've all just talked about, all of us on all sides when it comes to attraction and dating, it's too complicated. We have made like instead of just playing like marbles with attraction, now it's like Texas Hold'em or just something. All
Because
of that, guys, is too complicated. It's too
it's because the
complicated.
collective
All right, you guys.
consciousness has risen. We're not stupid anymore.
No, it's we have our hierarchy of needs is met. We live in Western privilege, and we have nothing better to do but sit and think and be in our own heads. If we were growing our own food, we wouldn't worry about this. All right, you guys.
Yeah. If we were living on a farm, Naomi, and we just had to take care of goats and cows and
I would still need to talk to you. We would because how are we going to have sex if I can't talk to you? If we can't talk, I don't want to have sex with you. My vagina will just switch off. It's not interested in you if we're not having that mental connection. If I can't connect with you on a deeper level, because when we get old and wrinkly, I still want you to be able to make me laugh. I still want us to be able to connect and me make you laugh. I still want us to be able to connect through our conversation and our thought-provoking conversation as well, not just, oh, well, I used to find you attractive. Now you're old and wrinkly.
so okay. How does that translate into dating as an older person? Because here's the thing, I
Hey,
went on.
are you
Well,
talking about
no,
me?
I'm saying that for myself too, because I prescribe to look. Romance is a young person's game, and a lot of dim-eyes, sapo, you know, hema hodo sexuals, they like because a lot of that is like women get that confused, like they wrap that up in romance, right?
Well,
And like
yeah.
the problem is as you get older, like romance is a young person's game,
No,
and
I
like
don't believe that. I
so
don't
like
believe that. I refuse to believe that we can't
okay,
be romantic because we're older. It may look different. It
okay,
may look different.
but okay, so young couples, I don't know the stat, but like they take years before they get married. I honestly believe because my ex-wife, we married in a year. Okay, if I were to get married again, I would want to get married like under a year because I would know the person. I want to get this show on the road. You know what I'm saying? And the problem with being connected to someone, knowing someone deeper is that like at what point? Because when you get older, you don't have time to take years to be able to do that. I got the question. So
It does. Can I just say one thing though?
Go
It
ahead.
doesn't have to take years if we're open to having conversations. My point is that a lot of guys don't want to have conversations. So then that's where it's like it takes years because there's no depth in the conversation. So it's like some guys, yeah, I'm physically attracted to you. And yeah, I would my body may be like initially like, oh yeah, okay, but then mentally there's no depth to that person. So I don't even necessarily think it's whether that person has that level of depth already within themselves.
Okay. Okay. I'm telling you, I'm gonna do a show. We have to do a show on this whole sapo demi because I'm telling you, like, I think less than there are so many women that are just not heterosexual. Now they have heterosexual dating guidelines, as in they want to, they have the traditional dating strategy. They want a guy, they have 6 foot tall. You need to be 6 foot tall or higher. You need to make a certain amount of money and stuff. But then they're sapiosexual. So
See,
like,
I don't even have the heterosexual. I don't have a list of things that somebody needs to have. The one thing that is non-negotiable is the mental connection. China always says to me, Naomi, you gotta let it go. But I will stay romantic, and I'm a writer though, so and also I believe that you can create your own reality. So like, I'm gonna it's happening. So I mean,
that's the that's why I'm the policy and you're the energy. Let's go. Energy, let's go.
Guardians of
Guardians
the
of the Galaxy,
Galaxy.
let's go. So, okay, so we are going to close the show out. Thank you everyone for being in here. They're having an interesting discussion about whether a Juris Doctorate is a social science degree. I just know a lot of women that got law degrees and don't practice law, or they drop out of law when they have a kid. They put IVF and freezing eggs in a lot of female lawyers' insurance plans so they can stave off having kids until later, because women will stop working as hard. Law is about billable hours. So the more hours you work, the more money you get. And if you make partner, you don't want a woman that worked 100 hours a week to get to partner, has a kid, and then is only working 38 hours a week. So, but anyway, I we might have to do a show about that anyway. All these show ideas. Okay, good. Okay, so go ahead, Naomi. Any final thoughts about this young men in the West crisis?
I think that the school system needs to change on a whole, full stop anyway. And I think that it's also a key responsibility of parents to ensure that their boys are watered to the point of knowing themselves, so that they don't have this disbelief in their abilities to have greatness.
Okay. I would say women are creating a trap for themselves because they don't see, they don't value blue collar guys. They don't value men and women dominated fields. They won't support a man long term. The majority of women. So women are putting themselves, and they're taking jobs away from men, which is fine, but they put themselves in a position to be providers, and they don't want to provide. And then they have this lie of, oh, women are empowered and stuff, whatever, and they're glossing over these issues with men. Men, we are natural problem solvers. So you're going to see a lot more men just disconnecting from the workforce. And hey, more power to them, guys. Do you? You are not societally bound to freaking carry women on your backs, carry a family, and if society crumbles, let women do it. Let women go into the sewers. Let women let them do it.
I'm not doing it.
Seriously,
I'm not doing it.
yeah. So, I'm interested to see where this whole thing goes. I think that there's going to be a breaking point where women are going to have to come, groveling back to men and say, please, I thought that I was strong and freaking independent, but my pipes are bursting in my house. That's how it's going to be like for the social consciousness of America. So I want to see more men unplug. Unplug, guys. Do you play your video games? Travel. It's your time now. So anyway, I'm going
I
to end
mean,
on that. What are your socials, Naomi?
my Instagram is n_Alexander87. My YouTube is I Know Me Naomi, and so is my TikTok.
Please subscribe, everyone. We're gonna try to get her to 1,000, and then I'm at 868 subs now. Woohoo! I have 132 more. Then I can get monetized, make some money, and
Yeah.
yep. And so anyway, I am Doug MPA. I do daily videos over here. I need to create a Doug MPA Instagram one of these days. I might do that. But yeah, make sure we're gonna do this show at 5 o'clock on Sundays, unless 5 p.m. Eastern time, and then 10 p.m. British time, unless otherwise stated. Thank you to my treasure and jewel of a co-host, Naomi. You are fantastic, always bringing the great energy. And one day you might get through my hard and tough policy exterior.
I'm chipping away.
Not today. Anyway, thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of your Sunday. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.